Welcome back to the Top 6 show. Hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribing. We have an action-packed show for you today where we're discussing all the weekend's games, some big transfer stories, and breaking news just before we went live. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has sat down with Gary Neville. So we're going to bring you some of his quotes and some of the things that he has said throughout the course of that interview as well to get your instant reaction to it. Of course, we're going to look back at yesterday's massive game between Man United and Arsenal. City losing at the weekend again. Does Pep need to move on? Do they need to change more than just their midfield in the summer? Well, of course, we're going to look ahead at the Champions League games as well. But we've got a brilliant panel for you today. David is here with us. Tom Little's in the house. Henry Wright is here. And so is Kunle. Gentlemen, how are you all?
Good. Been better, but yeah.
Didn't lose.
Wow. Won a game.
You won a game?
Twice in a row.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I'm 15 shameless draw of all time.
Yeah, listen, Spurs' comeback yesterday, we didn't really have much time to react to it because the United-Arsenal game was starting, but that was one of the strangest little mini comebacks I've ever seen in my life. But, you know, Saar was so embarrassed by his goal, he didn't even celebrate. He just was like, you know, in tennis, when they get the point, when it hits the net and it goes over the other, and they just apologize. It's basically what he did. Most footballers try and, like, act like they meant it. He just went, sorry, I'm really sorry I scored, and walked off. And then Son, Kepa, mate. Kepa, did you get, like, cold sweat flashbacks, David, when you saw Kepa do that?
No, do you know what's funny? Do you know what's been so funny about Kepa? There was like a graphic Sky Sports bro after Jorgensen made his mistake, and it was like, our two goalkeepers out on loan haven't made a mistake all season. They've been performing really well, prevented all this XG. Basically, Chelsea are idiots. Ever since that graphic's been brought up, Kepa's made 2 mistakes leading to goals. He's given away 2 penalties. Oh, it's been brilliant. I've been loving it. It's great. It's just like no matter what goes on, I'm telling you, those tables, there's something wrong. Those Sky Sports tables with stats, they're cursed, bro. There's something in those stats. As soon as it's on the screen, just know that number's not staying the same.
Mate, you're absolutely spot dangerous. On. They did it in the. Thankfully, that didn't come to fruition yesterday. Arsenal got their first couple of corners and they kept on putting the graphics up of how long Arsenal have gone without a goal from a corner. Equally, they kind of did it, the commentators curse, for Bruno's goal. Because it was like United haven't had a shot on target yet. Could they sting them before half time? And gooners everywhere must have been listening to that thinking, they're going to score now. And it felt like we were going to score because of what the commentators said. Sometimes I do think they jinx it. I do.
I couldn't even hear it, and I just knew that with Raya's positioning, you lot were going to score that free kick. I knew it, saw it, mate.
I mean, if the ball was 10 yards back, we might be talking differently, mightn't we? You know, the conspiracy against Arsenal continues.
It's actually,
I think it was what was it, 1.2 yards further back than
12%.
If Raya stood in the right position, that doesn't go in. The end. I don't understand.
No, but it's 12 guys. The 12% is so it's dramatic. Changes everything. So I don't. Do you know what? I don't even think the goal should count. I don't think it should count.
You know what? As well, you've got a question. You've got a question. Does Anthony Taylor have any links to Manchester in any shape, way, or form? Does he have an unconscious bias to Manchester United? So we took an extra step.
Do you know what's so funny, right? He may or may not have taken an extra step. What I loved about it from a United perspective is just every time it involves us, there was like an inquest into it. When was the last time anyone mentioned how far away the wall was, whether or not it had crept forward? Because sometimes you can tell it ain't 10 yards, it's 9 or it's 8. There's other times where it looks a little bit longer. But the only way it's ever been marked out by referees is them walking 10 paces. Referees are different heights, which means every game it's different. Do you know what I'm saying? And you'll probably find next week you'll get one that's 10.5, then there'll be one that's 9.5. It was a bit of a weird focus, but of course United always get that attention. The same as the penalty against Everton. Everyone's ignored the report that's come out since that VAR were correct to get involved because the referee believed Maguire tripped the player with his foot, which is exactly what normal, sane thinking people said. He thinks Maguire has tripped him. That's why he's fallen over. And they've said on the review there was no trip. There was a very slight pull. Fleeting pulls are not penalties. So a unanimous vote that VAR correctly got involved, and it was definitely, of course, it was a clear and obvious error, because if you think Maguire has tripped the player and there's no trip and the player's died after his arm was pulled, how can that not be considered? But but again, no attention on that. The same as the wall thing yesterday. So that's the bitterness out the way. But we're going to talk about the game. There is a big interview that's going on at the minute as well. That all the we're going to put some of the quotes up for you. So Jim talking about this Man United squad. Some of it, boys, some of it is damning. It really, really is. But on yesterday's game, I think I want to start with the football match yesterday. Kunle, what did you make of Arsenal's performance? Why do you think he was so limp for large parts of the game and struggled to break United down, unlike midweek against PSV?
It's the same stuff. Like the manager gets too excited with something working and just goes with it the next game. It's just his thing. Like he can never just like single out this game. It worked for this team. Let me try something different for another team. And it's the same. Like Marino as the number 9, just for me, it never works for the start. I've been saying it since. Comes on last 20 minutes, team's tired. He has to do a little bit of running and stuff that it could be quite effective, but there needs to be a different solution. That's number 1. Number 2, Martin Odegaard has gone missing, mate. He's been missing for like 4 or 5 months. I don't know what's going on with the guy. I don't know. Is the captaincy weighing harsh on him now? I don't know, but something's wrong. Something's really wrong. People are telling me he doesn't have a killer pass in him anymore. Of course he has a fucking killer pass in him. Excuse my language. But he's just not using the right passes at the right moments anymore. He's always doing the Hollywood stuff when he should be doing the simple stuff. He's taking the shot when he shouldn't take the shot, passing it when he should shoot. It's just crazy. He's making all the wrong decisions right now. And when the team needs someone to stand up and be that driving force, he's never there. Like obviously, Declan Rice bailed him out yesterday again, but he needs to be asked a lot of questions this summer. I'm not talking about getting rid of him or anything like that, but something needs to change. Is it Arteta's tactics? I don't know. But
what about a positional change?
I don't like the thought of putting him in the 8 personally. I don't like that. But a lot of people have been saying that. But I don't know. Something needs to change with him. But that front 3 just stinks. And Mikel Arteta needs to figure out a solution for it until Saka gets back. I don't. Obviously, Sterling's not the solution. But
I don't know. Can I throw out what I think a solution might be, though? Maybe you just need to change approach. So let your PSV game, you did well because PSV attacked you. So there's a few gooners that came on that match reaction and said I was a little concerned because PSV created chances. But the fact that they opened up, they committed fullbacks, they committed midfielders into their attacks. You had the space to operate in. You had a higher line to play against, and you had more space to operate in. This is where I think Arteta has to be more adaptive. So you're playing Chelsea this week that like to attack. Give Chelsea the ball. And I know that there's always this sort of pressure that fans and pundits, but you're at home or you're the better team on paper. The onus is on you to attack. Says who? I watch the UFC on a regular basis. Sometimes a fighter goes out and attacks. Sometimes they'll counter depending on who they're up against. If that's a weakness, if a counter attack is a weakness against an opponent, why would you not do it? And that's where I think, for instance, Man United exploited Arsenal yesterday. And Amorim doesn't get anywhere near the credit he deserves because he's done this in a lot of the big games. He knows how to make United hard to beat in these matches. And he's done it consistently. You look at our performances away at Arsenal and at home, away at Liverpool, away at City. These were all games where we were predicted ahead of time to get battered. But the manager has adapted. The manager has made some changes and he's got the best out of the squad we've got. I actually wish he'd do that more. I don't want us to be the aggressors against Fulham at the minute because their attack's better than ours. And I just think that's something Arteta has got to look at here.
Yeah,
give the ball. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so he doesn't do that. That's the issue. He doesn't adapt. He sticks to his ways. But on top of that, in his defense, there's a lot of not in his defense. There's a lot of things that are confusing me. It seems like the players are overthinking every time they have the ball. Every time, like instead of just quick movement, someone has to drop a shoulder, drop another shoulder, take an extra touch. It seems like all of them are doing it, which is the thing I was complaining about a few bumps ago, saying how it feels like Arteta knows too much about football now, where he's giving the players too many instructions, where they're like, I don't want to mess up. Oh, let me hold on for it a bit longer so I don't mess it up and make sure. And that's how it looks right now. And everything we're doing just looks really like, even the first half was decent. I believe there was enough openings for us to score a goal, at least take the lead. But even with that, the second half, like you lot dominated us for the second half. It was embarrassing that a team like you, 15th in the league, no offense, played us off the park. Like it was actually ridiculous. There was times like if you watched the tunnel TV reactions, I was sweating for the whole thing. I wasn't myself. It was long. It was literally long.
Can I throw this question out to the panel about that? And great, yep, I love the praise for my team. I'm going to talk about Man United in a minute, but let me just play host for a moment here. Do you think, in defense of Arsenal, there is an element where those players are just absolutely resigned to the fact that the title race is over? Does that take an edge off their game, David? And is that understandable in the circumstances?
There's just less to fight for now. They're kind of, well, currently, Arsenal are safe from the teams below them, and I don't think they're going to end up fighting the teams below them. But there's such a massive gap to Liverpool. Whether Declan Rice wants to come out and say, "Oh no, we still believe," no, you don't. It's not true. Arsenal would have to win all their 10 games, and Liverpool would have to lose like 6 out of their last 10 for it to even be that close. So they're currently in a situation where they're not on the beach, but it's kind of like, as long as we win the games that we should.
We're in no man's land, David. That's where in that no man's land.
You're just like in the middle. You know what I mean? You're in the middle of nowhere. Like no one. Like you're not really scared of a Forest or a Chelsea. Well, you're not scared that 4 teams are going to overtake you. So you're probably going to end up with Champions League.
You're going to finish in the top. They're going to finish it. They're going to finish in the. They're in the top 5. They are not dropping out of that. So yeah.
Yeah, so they're just in the middle of just sat there, and currently all they've got to play for is a Champions League. That's it. So their Premier League, like, oh, we've got to get that goal, doesn't really matter, because ultimately getting an extra point is actually quite useful for them.
When we say they're guaranteed to finish in the top 5, I'm not so sure.
Oh, come on, Henry.
No, look, I'm not coming on here looking at it from a Tottenham perspective. Like, they have got some tough games coming up. They've got Everton away, Liverpool away, Chelsea away. They've still got to play Newcastle.
Chelsea at home.
Sorry, Chelsea at home. Like Forest as it stands are what? 4 or 5 points behind. If Man City string a run together, it's not like set in stone that they are going to get Champions League football next season.
So Man City just lost this weekend. That you're talking about them putting a run together.
For Arsenal to drop. For Arsenal to drop out the top 5, Brighton are on 46 points. They're in 6th. Do we think Brighton are going to do a 9-point swing on Arsenal to end the season?
Well, I think Everton will beat Arsenal, and I think Liverpool will beat Arsenal.
Yeah, but
that would require Brighton to win every single game.
But it isn't. Again, Henry. But this is what you got to look at. Again, forget the maths. People focus on the maths of a league table, not the probability. For Arsenal to come 6th, it means Brighton, they're on a 4-game winning streak, to be fair, the greatest in their history, right? So they've never won more than 4. They've never won more than 3. So are they going to keep doing it? But for Arsenal to fall out, it means Brighton, City, Chelsea, and Forest all have to have a better record than Arsenal in the last 10 games. So it's not about mathematically is it possible. How likely is it that Arsenal's form is going to be so much worse than all of them? They're even 4 points ahead of Nottingham Forest. And if you look at the last 5 games, okay? So they've drawn 2, won 2, and lost 1 Arsenal, okay? Forest in that time, they've won 2, lost 2, drawn, the same as Arsenal. Chelsea have won 3 and lost 2. City have lost 3 and won 2. Brighton's form is actually really good with 1 loss and 4 defeats. So if you look at their run rate all season and their current run rate, it is so unlikely based on probability that all of those teams end the season like 5. It would be 5 points. It would be 5 points, 9 points, 10 points, and 10 points, and 10 points better than Arsenal. The probability is so low, it's almost impossible. I guarantee you, it's about, someone can run the maths. I'm going to guess and say it's 2,000 or 3,000 to 1 in terms of probability of happening. It's minuscule, bruv. Honestly, it's not going to happen. It's not.
It probably won't happen, but I'm not saying it's a guarantee that Arsenal do it. They are there. I think if they get through
it's more than likely, yeah.
Yeah, it's more than likely. If they get through to the next round of the Champions League, like the last 3 games in the Premier League, it's just there's like David said, there's no bite there. There's no like. Let's just get it to next season and keep playing our Champions League games.
Yeah,
That's what it looks
Is that,
like.
what you're hoping for, or is that what you?
Yeah,
I
this
don't
is
care where you finish.
but
I'm more worried about
Henry,
Bunny getting sacked.
Henry, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen though in about 4 or 5 games time. There's going to be a lot of teams playing for absolutely nothing as well. So what you're going to see is just a number like we always, you get those mid block worth of teams that are from about 10th down to about sort of 15th normally. With 5 games to go, can't get relegated, can't make Europe. They're all on the beach. Arsenal have got a few of those matches. They'll win some of those. Liverpool, by the way, will win the league in a few games' time. And then they'll start losing matches because they'll start prioritizing Champions League. Their players will be hungover and on the beach, as an example. Yeah, I just don't see that as a worry. What I'd be concerned about from an Arsenal perspective, though, is can they turn it on and off for the Champions League games? That would be more my message to them. Is it's harder if you're starting to lose focus and sort of concentration. Can you turn it back on when you play one of the Madrids in 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time? That's more of the question mark I would personally have on that.
That's what he has to do. That's literally what he has to do at this point because there's nothing else to play for but that Champions League. So he needs to be motivating the players to I don't know, be fighting to be starting in those games. I don't know what he needs to do, but the team talk needs to be crazy.
This here says, Terry, it doesn't matter if Arsenal finish outside the top 2. That's a failure. Well, look, they've failed on their season objective in the Premier League, which was to win it. So, I do find it ironic, though, about this. And I don't know if you see this, Kunle. The Gooners that will say if we end up finishing below second now, it's an even bigger disgrace, are the same Gooners that say second and 17th for the same position. So, it can't be those two things. Yeah. Whether they come second or 5th and they make it into the Champions League, I don't know if it really matters from this point. If you believe that second place and 17th place are the same league position. So I'm intrigued to know what the viewers think about that. Arsenal Avenger here, Kunle, says, with Martinelli and Saka back, we should be okay. Do you think that will give you the boost you need?
Do you know what? Martinelli looked quite bright when he came on yesterday. I'd like to see an option of maybe Martinelli, Trossard, and Wanyeri as the front 3 rather than Marino. I'd like to see what that looks like. But he looks bright. Let's not... all these Arsenal fans that were like, yeah, when Saka and Martinelli gets back, I was like, yeah, when Saka gets back, we can start getting excited. This Martinelli thing, like, I've not been excited about him all season, so why now? One of them.
This year says, Terry, why don't Arsenal get respect for consistency?
Well, consistently finishing second. Is that what you're asking for?
That's the only logic. I don't know, mate.
You can't just be content. If you're a big club, you can't just be content with coming second. Naturally, you just want to win. If you're good enough to come second, there's probably a good chance you're good enough to come first at some point.
But do you know what it is,
Especially
David? You know what it is? That's the problem with my fan base. They're seeking like respect for all the time. It's like when we win 3 games in a row, they're like, give us our win a league, then we'll get the respect from everybody. Like that's all we need to do. You know what I'm saying? All this reaching for milestones, like second place 3 years in a row. We've really tried. Give him his flowers. Yeah, like we can tell Arteta. Don't get it twisted. Arteta's done a great job to get us challenging. He definitely has. But the extra respect that we're looking for, we're only gonna get once we get it over the line, and that's the reality.
Genuine question, Kunle. You mentioned Saka earlier. That are we supposed to be back soon? Obviously, Martinelli came back on the weekend. If Arsenal, let's just say Saka's not 100% ready for the first leg against Madrid, and Arsenal go and lose that game 4-0, and it looks pretty much like season's done, would you still bring Saka back and play him in these games, or would you just sort of tell him, listen, go have a break, make sure that hamstring is 100% rested up, and we'll start again pre-season? Or do you bring him back for we might as well get him try and back up to speed in the last couple of league games, even though there's a good chance they're ultimately pointless?
Do you know what, Tom? Like this is a hard one because a lot of the Arsenal fans are not gonna like me for saying these things. Like, first of all, it's very difficult for me to believe that we're going to win the Champions League. It's very difficult, and I'm sure you lot on the panel can understand why. Some of my fan base probably can't understand why I'm saying it though, which is for different reasons. I don't see it. So even if Saka's not 100% for the Madrid game, don't risk him. Let him come back when he's 100%, because the chance of us win the league, Champions League, are slim. We can maybe do it, but protect this boy, because this is his first big injury, man. Let's protect him, man.
You are spot on with that. You have to be, if he comes back 3 weeks early and that hamstring snaps again, you don't want to create a Michael Owen type situation with him in that regard. And this is where football fans have got to sometimes learn to be more mature. We always act like it's every season's a going out of business sale. And if I don't get those jeans on discount here, I'm never going to get them jeans ever again. There's a new football season next year. And sometimes you have to think about not writing off the season you're in, but in the case of Saka, if he isn't ready to return, he shouldn't be rushed back. He absolutely shouldn't be. On your point on consistency, sorry, Kunle, I want to just add something to that. This is where Arsenal fans have also got to learn to be patient when it comes to punditry as well. I spoke about this earlier on today. A big Arsenal account put out a thing about, City have bought terribly, spent 200 million and still worse than us, still further behind than we are, yet they're not getting the same scrutiny of us coming second or being in second. And I thought, look, you're ignoring the fact that they did a 4P, a treble, 100 points and everything else. However, hold on to that. That's the standard that's been set. Not that you have to win that amount of trophies, but if you do win the Prem next season and then retain it, and then the year after that you drop off like City, and that's 5 years in title races, then you drop off and you don't get the sort of the credit in the bank, then you can complain about it. However, I do think you'll always get bitter journalists and bitter rivals, but I do think if last season you'd have won the Champions League, the season before that you'd won the FA Cup again, and then had this season, I feel there'd be less scrutiny on Arsenal. So in terms of respect for consistency, I think most people recognize that you become a consistent challenger, or as Arteta said yesterday, you're in phase 4 and he's looking to get you into phase 5, as he would call it. But there comes a point where, well, you've been a consistent challenger now. You're Arsenal Football Club. You're a giant football club. The next stage is winning those trophies. So you were first judged, and listen, most level-headed football fans could recognize you needed a real club rebuild. You did it. You got congratulated. You became title contenders. Well done. You now become consistent title contenders. That's great. You've got to start adding those trophies and major trophies to the hall. I don't think it's about a lack of respect from the majority of people in relation to that. We'll come to the Man United stuff in a minute. Some really interesting stuff I'm reading. I'm getting excited. Have you guys seen Ref Watch about Bruno's free kick? That's hilarious in many ways. So I muted you, by the way, Tom, because you were clicking your mouse and it was in my ear and it was annoying me. Sorry.
I've seen apparently that the didn't he make him do the 10-yard thing, but had it marked out on the floor, so it made out that he was a genius for being able to count 10 steps. Oh, mate, that might be the most pointless show going. By the way, I've never liked Ref Watch because it's just Dermot Gallagher going, "Yes, I agree with the referee," but Dermot, he snapped his leg. No, I agree with the referee. I can see why he made that decision. And now they're doing little marks and trying to make out that he's this genius for being able to count 10 yards. Like you said, nothing has ever been made out about the walls in football. It's always been they're about 10 yards away. And now, yesterday, we now need to do in stringent reviews. We might need to get laser designated point out so we know exactly 10 yards, so no team gets a minor advantage. Come on. We can't microanalyze every part of the game.
Sorry, go on, David.
Give it a season. Someone will say they need to take, mate. I said, give it a season. Someone will say it can only go 10 yards. So that way you can just like flick it out and it just go. And you can
the thing with it is, like, I wouldn't be against that per se. It doesn't take too long, but this is the problem. We saw it a few weeks ago in the Everton game, as I already mentioned, with the slight all season. Fleeting little pulls have not been given as fouls. We actually saw it in the Liverpool game at the weekend. You were already 3-1 up, and one of your players, forget who it was, grabbed hold of it of a Southampton player, was pulling him. It went into the box. He let go. VAR checked it and said no penalty. The commentator said no penalty. No one online is moaning about it. Nobody's whinging about it. That pull, because I was anal, was 2.5 seconds. The Litz pull was a fraction of a second, yet everybody said, those pulls have got to be penalties because for Man United. This is my issue when it comes to these shows as well. and I don't think it's just Man United that get this, although it feels that way to me personally. They pick and choose when to make an example of a good or a bad decision. When was the last time? And by the way, they did it to Pogba with the walking stats. They did it yesterday with the length of the wall. You will not see them mention how far the wall is away again now for years. It will not come up again. So no, I do agree with you, Tom. Shambles of a show. We're going to come back to a little bit of Arsenal later when we preview the Champions League. So make sure you are staying with us. What's crazy is we should have had a red card. I mean, Thomas Partey's challenge on, I forget who it was on now, Garnacho, that was hit. Garnacho's leg was already in the air and it still hit just below his knee with his studs. Yet no conversation on that. There's just no one debating it. Casemiro does that. I guarantee you it's a red card. I guarantee it. Personality. Equally, if that was Granit Xhaka still in the Prem, red card outright, no matter what. There's the Marino stamp as well. You just know if these kind of things happen. I want to speak a little bit about the Sir Jim Ratcliffe interview. I'm going to put some of his quotes up because this is happening as we're live, and I know a lot of the viewers are talking about this. And I want to just say to a few people in the comments, saying, Terry, am I going to address the situation between Julian and Saeed? I made content about that this morning. Go and check it out. I've made my stance very, very clear. I'm not going to continue to talk about it because that's not me. But yes, I addressed it because I didn't like what happened. I thought it was wrong. But yes, I know a lot of you are messaging in the comment section, but go and check it out. It's there. No issues whatsoever. Right. So the interview goes like this. This is a real interesting comment for me here. So Jim has said on Man United players, some are not good enough and some probably are overpaid. But for us to mold a squad that we are fully responsible for and accountable for will take time. There are some great players in the squad, as we know. The captain is a fabulous footballer. We definitely need Bruno. He is a fantastic football player. So he's essentially said the squad is full of loads of crap players and loads of players that are good. Loads of players that are good, but they're well overpaid for how good they are. So Jim's saying this, and we'll kind of do this for each quote we put up. Do we agree with this as a panel, or do you think he's being harsh about his current squad?
Do we think Jim Ratcliffe is being harsh about the Manchester United squad that has them in 14th in the Premier League?
Just asking.
Are some of the Manchester United players potentially overpaid? Oh, I don't know.
I agree. Bruno is a good footballer. Like Bruno is a good.
He's trying to say he's the only good footballer. I think, to be fair, that's what he's saying.
To be fair, no. I don't think that's true. I think the Ligt could be good.
No, but is that what? I think Euro's got potential. Can you hear the Lit in that quote? You can't hear the Lit in there. You can't hear the Lit in that.
I'm just again. What I'm more asking for, just because this is more. I think the audience want to get a question on. Is Bruno? Most of us will agree he's a very good footballer. We know that by the way rivals slag him off. But him stating that some are not good enough, some are overpaid. Could this show why there has been a bit of a pushback from the players in terms of adapting to a new style, adapting to the new world, because they essentially know that their goose is cooked at Man United and they are, for the first time in 12 years, the players are not being protected. Is that a positive thing for Man United or a negative way to go about things? What do we think?
Positive, massively positive going forward, because that was where shit hit the fan when that changed. When the players thought they had the control and they could get away with everything, that was when shit hit the fan with Manchester United. And it's just been a downhill struggle ever since then. They just think we can down tools. They're going to be a next man in anyway. We'll just extend our contract because they love paying us money. This is the first time that they maybe feel a little bit different about it. So it's perfect. It's a good thing in the long run for you, I believe.
I wish more.
That squad.
Oh, go on, David. Go on.
I was going to say the squad, especially for what Amorim wants to do, that squad needs a massive overhaul because it's just not built to do what he wants to. There's not enough. There's not even an 11 that you could put together fully fit for like that squad to actually be good enough. So I think it needs to be done. And to be honest, I think part of getting rid of some people who aren't good for the culture of Man United is quite an important thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. I wish more owners would come out with and be this open about things. If Daniel Levy, for instance, come out and did it, it would be well, it would never happen with Levy. But it's good that he's come out and said that there are players. There's going to be a massive turn of players leaving, signing players coming in the next few months. So it's good that he can see that. He's not, blinded by the money. He wants to improve the squad. So I think that's should be music to Man United's ears.
Yeah. He also said here, this is on Ruben Amorim. He says, I think we've done a great job in the circumstances, frankly, with the squad that he has had available. The fact he came in mid-season, everybody expects miracles overnight. That's not the way, not real life, in my view. He goes on to say, if you look at the players we are buying, we are buying this summer that we didn't buy. We're buying Anthony, we're buying Casemiro, we're buying Onana, we're buying Højlund, we're buying Sancho. These are all things from the past. Have I read that wrong? It doesn't even make sense when I read it out. Don't unstart anything, okay, Jay, because I want to go back. If you look at the players we are buying this summer that we didn't buy, we're buying. That doesn't even.
He's basically saying, everyone's saying, we bought Anthony, we bought.
Oh, right. Okay. But so essentially what he's saying here is that this is under new management. Stop blaming us for what the previous regime got wrong until we've had enough summers to fix it. He says these are all things from the past, whether we like it or not. We inherited. Fucking hell. We inherited those things and we have to sort them out. For Sancho, who now plays for Chelsea, we paid half his wages. We're paying 17 million to buy him. We're paying 17 million to buy him in the summer. And listen, I think that's really frank. He's basically naming all the flops that the club have bought and said, because if we actually be really honest about all those names, none of us would say, Casemiro, I'm still not against him like many other people. But you look at the rest of those names, none of them have got anywhere near. And I don't even think it's about being bad players generally. We should have paid 25 million for Anthony. We should have got a different goalkeeper to Onana as an example. I mean, again, this has been my thought for a while. I think why we haven't had a new manager bounce, and I've hoped that this was the case, and this gives me an idea or an inkling that it's true, is I think they've gone into that dressing room, maybe not quite literally, and just said, this time is different. We are going to back a manager right until the end. He says here, we won't be selling players because of the state we are in financially. The club had got bloated, so we reduced that, and we'll finish it with a lean, efficient organization. That's how we will add less address cost. Player decisions will be focused on how we are going to improve performances. That's all. So what's really interesting here is that they're essentially saying if Garnacho sold, it's because he's not good enough, not because he's pure profit, and we're selling it because of financial difficulties, which I also think is good as well. He says Ten Hag says I agree that the Ten Hag and Dan Ashworth decisions errors were errors. I think they were some mitigating circumstances, but ultimately they were errors. I accept that and I apologize for it. I mean, look, this is an owner publicly speaking about making a mistake. Again, as rivals reading this, if your owners were making mistakes and they came out and they apologized for it, would you see that as I'm quoting Standard FC here, taking accountability, showing that they made mistakes, and the hope that, therefore, is they're not going to repeat them? Or is this just what also Standard FC would say? It's just PR to get people on side. How are you all reading this?
It's a good start. It's what United fans want to be hearing. But ultimately, are you going to live up to what you're saying when it matters in the summer, when it matters in the years gone by? Because it's all well and good being able to say it now. Like, yes, well done for acknowledging that keeping Ten Hag on for giving him a new 1-year deal or whatever it was, and then sacking him 3 months into the season, therefore limiting your current manager was an error. And good on you for acknowledging all these other things and addressing all these other things. But now, how are you actually going to address them? Not to Gary Neville in the media. How are you going to make sure that in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years' time, you're not sitting here in another sit-down interview with Gary Neville talking about the same things, but this time you can't blame the Glazers for the mistakes that they bought. It's now your mistakes that you bought. You can't blame whoever for whatever. It's your mistakes now. So it's a good start. It's exactly what United fans would want to be hearing. But I'm waiting. I think the actions are going to speak louder than the words on that front.
No,
I was going to say
100%.
the only thing with an interview is that you're because of the style of interview you're doing, you have to almost wait for the results to see whether the interview is actually true or not. You're in this weird spot now where he's like, yeah, we've made mistakes, but I mean, like, everyone can see you've made mistakes. You're Man United and you're in 14th. That shouldn't happen, like, flat out. So everyone knows something's gone wrong somewhere. So yeah, it's all well and good saying you've done it, but now you've got to go, okay, how are we going to fix it? Very,
very true. As a United fan, what I would say to that, though, is what one of the biggest criticisms that we've had of the Glazers for 20 years is not once have they ever addressed us as fans and given us any answers. So what we can't do as Man United fans is say, we never hear from our owners, they never address their mistakes. And then when one of them comes out and apologizes, I completely agree with you. You still metaphorically keep your foot on the neck, but you can't then say, well, I ain't accepting that apology until I see different results. Because then you're basically contradicting yourself when it comes to the Glazers. Well, you don't care about them speaking then, you just want results. And interestingly, Sunray here says apologies with results, not words. I agree in the long term. Same with the panel. You've got to do that. At the same time, he has answered something else here. He responded about the staff cuts. And this is, again, exactly what I thought it would be. We found that even a body language consultant was earning £175,000 a year at Man United.
What did they do?
Why are you ruining the bag, bro?
Hey,
that person right now is so sad, bro.
He's fuming, man. Why are you ruining my...
You're ruining this life.
The best hustle in the game for the last few years, and you're not blowing up my spot.
And this is what's and this is what's crazy, right? Do you guys all know what like no-show jobs are?
Yeah.
Yeah, a no-show job essentially is a mafia thing, it's a mob thing where they get jobs that it might be a big construction site that's going to be open for 3 years, and they'll get like 5 no-show jobs. So friends of theirs from the borough will have £200,000 a year jobs, but they never turn up and actually work them, right? I feel like Man United has stuff like that going on without the mob being involved. And what's crazy is this: look how bad we've been. How is a body language coach earning that money, and yet there's no improvement on the field of play? And look, of course there is going to be people of a working. By the way, if you're earning £175,000 a year, you don't fit into that working class category, right? And that's a consultant. It means he's got other jobs, or she has got other jobs as well,
body
right?
Language consultant, man.
And this is why I said to Man United fans, yes, there's some things we should condemn, but what did I say every week? We should be asking more questions. Who is being made redundant? What were they earning? And why have they gone? Because for me, I think there was a lot of bloatedness at the club as well. Doesn't mean I defend every decision. But imagine this. This is why the facts are important. We would all feel sorry for people on living wage being made redundant because the club was broke. Do we feel sorry for a body language consultant losing that money? No. And that's why
out respect for the grind, I do.
No, I don't know. Big him up, though. Big him up.
No, listen, I get that, but on a real level, I need to speak seriously about this. Boys, I can't even joke about this. I'm so serious about this. This is the problem. The media told us half the fucking story, and people have been manipulated by it. Man United would have run out of money by the end of 2025. We know that. We absolutely, again, and what you will get, the kickback will be, but then the Glazers would have sold. And I do think it holds a little bit of merit, that. But it's a £6 billion asset. Do we really think they're going to let it go insolvent for the sake of £100 million? They could just sell some A shares from the stock market and just pump a bit of cash in. They're never going to let us go insolvent and then lose a £6 billion asset for a fraction of the price. Wake up. Wake up.
Terry, you know why this, for me, why I think this interview he's doing and what he's saying is good right now is because strangely, the consensus for a few Man United fans is they're kind of on board with this, like, we're committed to this Amarin thing. So it was good for the owner to come in with saying stuff like that. Yeah, we've made mistakes, give him time, these sort of things, because it's kind of like, okay, we're giving him time and you're talking about potentially fixing mistakes that we've made. So we're kind of on the same page. So it's good in terms of what he's saying in terms of the supporters. But yeah, as everyone else is saying on the panel, is he then going to follow through? And he's been a successful businessman for many years. So I don't see him exposing himself like this in an interview if he's not going to make at least some changes in the summer. But we'll see.
I know your season's kind of already void, but like this kind of gives United fans more hope for like the future. Because if it was quiet, and like you had no idea what was going on, there is a chance they could have just carried on doing the same nonsense and just like got away with it. But because it was Ineos and people believed in it, then they would have just carried on. This at least gives you like tangible evidence to say, oh, this is what you said. Are you sticking to it? Yes or no?
Yeah. Do you know what? There's decisions they've made. Some of the people that have lost their jobs, I think, is harsh. There's some of the charities they've reduced giving money to that I think is wrong. The increase in ticket prices I've condemned and I'm not sitting there now going, oh, it's great we put the ticket prices up. One of the things I do find interesting about the way that was reported, we're still, in terms of cost per individual fan, one of the cheapest in the Premier League. And all the people this is where I got annoyed at rivals, because it was like Gooners slagging off the owners for doing it. I'm like, one, you're £30 per head more expensive already than us. And you've just whacked yours up again. So look, there are things that they've done that I'm not happy with still. But as I've said on the terrace, I said it on the United stand, I want more details and information before I completely condemn, because having worked in the corporate world myself, I saw firsthand how the media would report on something versus the reality of a situation internally. And unless you've ever been in that scenario, it's difficult sometimes to comprehend. And I said to all the Man United fans last week on the United stand last Monday, and I stand by this 110%. Don't for a second think the mainstream media reporting on this do it because they care about you or the club. They know there's a big fire at the moment at the club. They are not standing there with foam and fire blankets, soup for when you recover, and water to put it out. They have got a massive canister of petrol that they're looking to throw on there and add more fuel to the fire. Stop siding with them just because they say something that suits your agenda in the here and now. They are not your friend, because had they reported on certain things and been completely balanced and been completely open, maybe you would have viewed the decision making somewhat differently. And I said all along, and they've done it. And I would still ask more questions, like the charity we're taking 50 grand a year away from. I want to know why that charity. What was it you deemed? I'm not saying that charity is doing anything wrong. I'm speaking hypothetically. What if it turned out the club for 3 years has been asking for an audit trail of how they spend that money, and then they failed to provide it? The club are right to not give any more money to a charity that does that, because you don't know what you're funding. And these are elements. And that, listen, when I used to work at Barclays, I used to do this thing called match fundraising, where if you raise money, say for your kid's school, whatever you raised up to like $5 grand, the bank would match it. But you had to do like an audit into where the money went, because the bank's like, well, we can't just give money, because if it's going to a charity that's then funding something dodgy, the bank's accountable for it. So again, life experience teaches you that you have to ask questions before you judge certain circumstances. For me, personally, this year says this is the sort of interview that should be done off season. I'd love to know why you think it should be done off season. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'd love to know your rationale.
Yeah, United are in there off season. They've got nothing to play for now, have they?
I want that language agent 175k to do nothing. Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely
how long
crazy.
do you reckon he was there?
Years.
I'm gonna go with 5 years. I'm gonna go. You know when Elon Musk made all them people redundant? As much as I never liked the concept of anyone losing their job, I do remember seeing, and they've all stopped now for some reason, I would probably see on TikTok, and I didn't even search for this stuff. It would come up on my timeline, even when I said not interested, because I only like football stuff. Every week I see about 10 different employees post what their working day at Twitter looked like. And it was an 8-hour working day was only about 3 hours of working. The rest of it was coffee, yoga, and like community breakouts playing foosball. I'm like, no wonder these people on 100k a year lost their jobs when they're only doing 3. Like, it just, and that's why, again, I'm not saying everyone deserves to lose their job at United, but I want facts. How many hours work were they doing? Were they improving the football team? Were they making or saving the club money? The answer is no to those questions. It makes complete sense why a company doesn't want to put money in. I mean, imagine paying a member of staff. Imagine, you all run businesses. Would you employ someone who doesn't make you money or save you time and money? Why would you do that? No business in the world does that. Or good businesses. We need to ask these questions. But there we go. What about the part where Gary Neville suggested an idea for ex-player charity solution, and Jim said, "Oh, good idea. That didn't think about that." Well, I haven't. Again, I'm only reading the quotes KJ's putting in. I've got to listen to the whole interview. But that's also why I think it's important for these interviews and for challenge, because sometimes you're not aware what you're not aware of, and someone might give you an idea. Instead of maybe the media, instead of maybe fan groups kicking off every 5 minutes and throwing out pejoratives and being angry every minute, maybe if you calm down, tried to have a dialogue, kept it civil, maybe then you could suggest things that you'd be listened to. But imagine you're trying to convince Ineos to change an approach, but your way of talking to them is you effing this, you effing that, you seeing this, you rat this, you da-da-da-da. Do you really think they're going to listen to you? Or maybe if you go in a little bit more diplomatic, a little calmer, build a rapport, they'll listen to your suggestions. Maybe that's a better approach for influencing people. I'm just, we saw a really famous interview with 3 people the other day where they were trying to suggest that, but nobody wanted to listen. But there we go. Viewers, hit the like button for us. Make sure you are subscribing. Make sure you have the bell notification button turned on as well. Gary Neville took a bit of a dig. This was already part of the show. I'm going to play it anyway. But Gary Neville took a bit of a dig at Man United and a bit of a dig at Tottenham this week as we get into the European section of the show. Take a look at what he said, and I want to get everyone's opinions on it.
But it's disrespectful of United, and a little bit of Tottenham as well. There's this feeling that, United and Tottenham are going to end up in the final of the Europa League. They're going to have to start playing an awful lot better than they are, because the other teams in this competition, anybody that's half decent and half organised that comes and plays here. I was here last week against Fulham. Fulham won the game in the end on penalties, but they were the better team. And that happens regularly. Manchester United only just beat Ipswich. So don't be surprised if Real Sociedad come here on Thursday and have a lot of joy. I do actually think United will go through, but they're going to have to improve enormously from the levels they're at to win the Europa League. But to prioritise it, what other option has he got? Because it's the only trophy that he can win. And they're not going to go down United. They're too far away from relegation. So the league in some ways, other than pride, is effectively just get through it as quick as you possibly can.
So he sort of starts off by saying it's disrespectful of Man United and Tottenham to prioritise the league. He ends by saying he understands why they're doing it because the league's over. But is it disrespectful for Man United and Tottenham to say the Europa League is now more important than the Premier League for them this season?
No. How many other years has a club been sat there and went, you know what? This European competition we're in is probably more important than our Premier League position, considering we can't win the league. This is not the first time it's happened. It's the most extreme case of it, because there were situations where these teams were in 13th or 14th, but ultimately they're not under threat of relegation. Ipswich aren't going to produce a miracle. They're not good enough. So every team that's in that relegation zone is going down. They might as well just focus on the Europa League. They should not be sitting there sacrificing the trophy.
He is right in what he's saying about if Man United or Spurs come up against an organised team, we will get trounced. Like the way, if Spurs come up against an Athletic Bilbao,
that's a different topic. Yeah.
We're done for. If we go up against Bilbao or Roma, or Man United come up against Bilbao or Roma, they're done for. Like there is an arrogance.
Your best hope of
of course, it's our best hope
winning those competitions is.
Yeah, I get that, but there's also an arrogance in the Spurs fan base that we're just going to go and magically win it. Like there's nothing that Andrew's done since he's been here to give me any hope to say that the arrogance, we'll just go win the Europa League.
Wait, is there actually like a confidence of winning?
Don't even get me started.
Like that's the real thing.
I hate my fan base at times more than rival fan bases, because it's like,
where's this confidence come from, though?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't understand it. Where is this fucking? We haven't won anything in 17 years.
Oh, no. Wait, hold on.
All the time on my videos saying
it's Andrew's second season, guys. Remember?
Yeah, again, and that's what I get all the time is just focus on the cups. We got knocked out of 2 of those in 4 days, and then I did my match reaction to ours in Alkmaar, and it was like, but we're just going to go and beat them on the home leg. Based off what? What in that first leg gives you any confidence that we're just going to go and beat them in the home leg and we're going to go and win the Europa League? So that part I do agree with. If Tottenham come against an organised team we're done for. But Tottenham and Man United in the league positions they're in should be focusing on the Europa League.
100%.
We got nothing to play for. We're both going to stay up. We're both probably focusing on the summer transfer window. But to think that Tottenham are going to make the final, like we've got ours in Alkmaar, and if we beat them, we've got Frankfurt or Ajax. As soon as you mention Ajax to the Tottenham fan base, don't worry, lads, we'll just do a Lucas Moura. We'll go and do them again. And then when we get past them, I think we've got Lazio, who are far better than us. Like the mindset of Tottenham fans baffles me.
They're not far better than you, but yeah, they're better than you.
No, but
wait, no, Henry, I'm genuinely shocked. You're telling me there are genuine Tottenham fans that think you have like not a chance, but a good chance of winning a trophy this season.
David, there's thousands.
Like, even getting to the final was a surprise for me.
That's my point. I don't get how, I don't get what we've done this season. For an example, to say that we're going to go and win the Europa League, I don't get what Man United are. Man United. They turn up in one-off results. They beat Man City in the FA Cup, so there's a much higher chance they will win the Europa League than us, even though they're on the harder side. But for Tottenham to do it, I'm scratching my head, going, okay, if we do it, happy days. I'll be, out on the piss all day, or the open bus top parade, doing all sorts. If that happens, I will be ecstatic. But what evidence have we got to suggest that's going to happen?
The first 10 games of Ange's reign, that's one that we harp back to. First 10 games, you were very good.
Players fit, full squad and stuff, yeah. Romero and
Van de Ven both back against Bournemouth.
They need a couple games. Once they've had a couple games, game changer, bro.
Like I got told I was negative and I was not a Spurs fan because I said that 8 of Bournemouth's 11 getting ours. I don't think that's
only 8.
I think the only Tottenham players that get in Bournemouth side is Kulusevski, Van de Ven, and
wouldn't say Van de Ven gets in.
I think he does. I think a fully fit Van de Ven does.
Not
not where he's doing 40 sprints a game.
Ahead of Zabani and Huijsen.
Tom, give him something. Tom,
I think Kulusevski, Solanke.
Yeah, I give him Solanke. Mind you, when that Lautaro was up front, he was getting hat tricks. It might be a problem for Solanke there.
Hey, Patrick fought me on this comment, Henry, but you're spot on with that analysis of your team.
Yeah, 3 players getting. So what makes people think that we're going to go win this cup? How did that get on in? We'll just go to Anfield and beat Liverpool. And
I feel. Listen, I part of me gets what if Gary Neville was talking about just assuming. It's where what he says doesn't make sense to me. So he's saying that it's disrespectful to assume that just because the clubs prioritize it, they're going to get to the final. If you just take out some delusional fans from both clubs that just think if we play our strongest 11, we're making it to the final. It's what the clubs should be doing. They should be prioritizing the Europa League because there's a chance of Champions League football and Champions League money, especially Man United. We need that money to help improve our squad. Not about pool of players and some players. Like if we make it into the Europa League, so Champions League, there's more chance of us getting Victor Gyökeres, who I think his next move is very likely to be a Champions League side. So there are a handful of players that you might have a better chance of getting, but financially it's going to help us massively. I just don't think it's disrespectful to say if Man United and Spurs pick their strongest teams for the Europa League and rotate for the Premier League, that improves their chances of making it to the final. That for me is the bit that isn't disrespectful. It's not assuming, because I don't think Spurs are making it even if they do. Genuinely, Spurs making a European final again. Spurs, look, they did what they did in 2019. They brilliantly to get to the final. They ain't built like that, Tottenham. They've been the favourites for about 5 months, and I've never understood why. The bookies have had them as the favourites. Listen, Man United have been dog, and they've beaten us 3 times this year. I still think in terms of lifting a trophy, if I'm putting my money on it, and I had to bet between the 2 clubs, I'm going on Man United over Spurs.
Yeah, every day of the week.
But there's teams left in it that are just more versed and more experienced in Europe and at winning than Tottenham. But I just thought Gary Neville sort of turned his nose up at the idea of prioritizing it was kind of wrong, really, because I was happy with Man United's performance yesterday in the second half and some really good displays from some of our players. I still would have liked to see more kids from the start of the game and rest a few players, because Sociedad with Zubimendi back is going to be a very, very different matter this week. But if I was to ask you, the panel, this, I'm going to go to David first. Man United and Spurs, which of the 2, if any, are going to qualify, in your opinion, to the next round of the Europa League this Thursday?
I don't think either of you do. Sorry to say it. I just think, no offense to Spurs, Troy Parrott is just he's gonna come back and score a goal. I can feel it already. I know nothing. I don't know if there's bad blood or anything, but he's gonna score at that stadium. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be beautiful.
I'm gonna need a new
Man
jet
United. I think the problem with Man United is that if you go a goal down, I think if you go up, you'll win. However, if you go a goal down, I think it gets worse and worse and worse because the whole stadium's going to be on your back. Like the whole stadium's going to get on your back because they know it's the one last bit of hope they've got for the season because the league's done and you got knocked out of the FA Cup. So it's literally like this. Every game is that one game and you're not fighting for anything. So I personally think Sociedad are going to do you, and I think I think Spurs are going to lose quite badly, actually, to be honest.
If we lose to RZ Alkmaar with our 5th choice striker turning up and beating us, if he's not sacked that night, then we should be writing outside the stadium. Like no disrespect to RZ Alkmaar, they've got some good players, but then
why sack him? What's the point before the end of the season? What's the point?
I said yesterday in my match reaction, I would appoint Ryan Mason for that RZ Alkmaar game. We were booed off at half time. We were booed off at full time. The substitutions.
Ryan Mason. Come on, Henry.
Let me ask you one question, right? Let me ask you one question. What's RZ's game plan going to be when they play us?
Wait for Tottenham to do with Tottenham.
Sit back and counter attack.
Wait for the history.
Every team in Europe knows that. And we don't have anything to counter that argument. So why would I not want him gone and bring someone else? I'd rather bring the academy coach in against RZ Alkmaar and just say, try something different. I mean, Destiny Udogie, I'd rather you at fullback than it. He's come back and looks absolutely appalling. He's probably still carrying an injury.
Destiny.
Got to make 5 worldy saves a game.
You don't mean it.
I don't see Tottenham going through. I can see United going through.
Was good.
He was the best left back in the league, man.
Yeah, if I had to give if I had to give one of my teams my life tomorrow, it'd be Man United. It has to.
Yeah, United just have that. I think the game yesterday will be a good momentum boost for them because United fans acknowledge that they actually deserved to get more than a draw out of that game based on the second half. With the chances,
I think they're going through on penalties. To be fair, man.
Yeah, maybe. Look, I'm never that confident in Man United. We were better than Sociedad in their backyard. I know that Zubimendi was out, but let's not pretend like we haven't got our own players missing. We got undone by a very unfortunate handball. You know, it's handball by the letter of the law, but it was a bit of a freak accident. That's how we go out, by the way, on Thursday. If somebody makes a colossal error. And that was actually maybe the proudest moment I had yesterday is we actually played a game where we were leading and doing quite well, but there wasn't like a massive blundering error. Delo getting sent off against Arsenal, even though we saw that game through. The Ipswich game, which we won, you know, we give away a goal in the opening 3 minutes. We play brilliantly to get 2-1 up and then Dorgu gets sent off. We just need to not have any sort of lame brain moments. And I think if we do that, I think we can get through. Lyon, look, I don't know. I don't know how good Lyon are. They beat Steaua Bucharest, who we beat. Let's see what the second leg looks like as an example. But yeah, I think, by the way, I think Tottenham go through as well this week. I think they'll be better at home against AZ. I think they'll be better at home. I think they go through. But who would you have in the next round if you go through?
We'd have Frankfurt or Ajax, and we've won one of our last 11 home games.
Yeah,
I still think
you're going to go through.
Based on what? Why, Terry? What's giving you the encouragement?
One home win since November, Terry.
That's why, though. But that's why.
Football gods thing.
But that's not football god. But that's why. That's why you haven't had many, and one's due. It's not based on any kind of football. I'm not breaking it down like I'm honest. I was watching the Saturday socials the other day, and somebody broke down why a defender's really good, and loads of people were praising, going, "Oh my god, it's so great to actually hear like real solid breakdown without people," because we all use this phrase sometimes. People go, "Oh, Mbappe is just Mbappe," and people go, "That doesn't even mean anything." And I'm like, "No, I think it does. It means." Do we really have to go into why he's good? We all know why he's good, right? And sometimes I just feel like that about games. Form and their home record, they're probably going to lose. I just view it as They're going to get an own win soon. You said it earlier when they put the stats up before a corner. They had not scored from a corner in 6 months. Oh, they go and score. It's that. I think they'll do it. 2-1, 2-0. Something like that. Yeah. Like they did it with the Bruno goal. No shot on target the whole first half for Man United. Last kick of the first half, bang, a goal. Right? Yeah. It's just it's one of them.
Not scored away from home for 5 games. And
bang, let's go. Yeah, exactly. It's just that, and I don't know what to call it other than football. Really, it's just a football thing. I think Spurs will do it, and I'm actually going to go 2-0. But viewers, I'd love to get your views and your opinions on that. Interesting comment here about Arsenal. This is from Andrew Barnes and about Chelsea. He says, hot take. Chelsea will win the Premier League before Arsenal.
No.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Not unless Arsenal don't like continue to screw themselves over in the transfer market. Arsenal should win a league title in the next 2 years because all they need to do is buy a number 9 who can score goals, and the rest of that squad is a title-winning squad. If Arsenal continue to not do anything if they continue to keep trying to cut corners, keep trying to avoid the big pressing matter, it's still going to take Chelsea 4 years to get to a title challenging squad. But let's be real, under this current ownership model, they're going to need to cycle through a whole other set of players first to get a collection of 11 that are good enough to win a title. If Arsenal, in 4 years' time, have not won a league title, they don't deserve to win a league title. I'm sorry. They don't. They deserve the embarrassment of Chelsea beating them to a title.
That 4 years is even too long. I'm not going to lie. That 4 years is even too long. But it's a cool super chat. I can't see it. It's a cool super chat, though.
I really want to say yes, but I feel like Chelsea are 2 years away from doing it, and that's 2 years of no mistakes. It's 2 years away. Arsenal have to do one thing, and that's it. So if you can't do that one thing in 2 years, and then we're neck and neck, I'm with the super chat. But Arsenal can win it before Chelsea can even be good enough.
I like that. Proper Niger politician answer. Love it.
But it's true. If
he didn't actually
I'm
say
not
anything,
even
but he said
in the position to start the race, if I can't even start the race, you're in the race already. If you don't win it before are
you a yes or no? No, but basically, David, are you yes or no of the super chat? That all those semantics that you threw in were good.
As of today, if I've got to pick a side, I'm picking no. But I could be swayed. If someone gives me,
you could be swayed depending on how the next 2 years go. I get it.
As of right now, I would say no, but I'll leave it open ended to see what this summer looks like. If Arsenal have a similar window to last year, but Chelsea go out and buy Gyökeres, Bruno Guimaraes, and Nico Williams, I'm throwing names out there. If they have a summer that Arsenal should have, we all might change our minds come the beginning of the season because Chelsea need that experience or top-level stars. So do Arsenal. But if Arsenal sign that, even if Chelsea do, I would still expect Arsenal to stay ahead of them. Plus, I think at the moment, Arteta, I would say, is a better coach, a better manager than Maresca, and that goes a long way as well. But, look, viewers, let us know what you think and what you feel about that. The super chat's come in here. It says, I've never seen worse goalkeeping than the Sidemen game. I have at Chelsea this season with Sanchez, to be fair.
I was going to say, have you watched Robert Sanchez? Because oh my God, I'm not sure if anybody saw it. Did you see what he did on this weekend? Because, it was one of the maddest things I've ever seen. The ball gets crossed in. He dives, misses the ball because Tosin thinks, my goalkeeper's going to punch it away. He just looks away from the ball. Because Sanchez missed it, it hit Tosin's head, pinged off his head, hit the crossbar, and then it got cleared away. How that wasn't a goal?
You guys caught that moment. I feel like if that happened, I don't know if you would have, looking at the rest of the game, I don't know if you would have won. I think the confidence would have just been drained out of you. It was just such a comedy moment. It's a shame it didn't go in because it will never be replayed again. But no, I agree. Yeah, but the Sidemen goalkeeping, I was watching some of the penalties from people and shots, and there was one. I don't know who he was. He took a shot. It was trickling towards goal like this slow. and it went in still. I couldn't believe it. I just, you sit there and but maybe that makes those games more fun, just having loads of crap players and crap goalkeepers. If they were good and it was competitive, maybe, I don't know, it might upset the geeks a little. I think the geeks like it because they can see themselves in those players. Do you know what I mean? I might get to Wembley one day, kick a ball.
Watching a full 90 of that is too difficult, man. You need the 10-minute highlights.
Yeah.
You got to take breaks.
Honestly, they should come get Tom Little. Tom Little's that level.
Oh, there we go.
No, you were
at
that level in Germany. And honestly, and I remember KJ. Do you remember the KJ shoulder barge, David, on Tom? Did you remember the little Tom? Right?
I'm not going to win physical duels. We'll look at that one. I'm not going to win physical duels.
KJ shoulder barged him. We were in Germany. Tom almost landed in the Netherlands. Do you know what I mean? Like it is international level power.
But did KJ score? He didn't, so I defended well.
Yeah, I got through first in that game of knockout, so I got lucky. I went to put a block in for I think it was KJ's shot. It clipped my toe and it went in, and it was my goal. That's how I score, mate. Little deflections. I show speed would have a for that game. It would have. Oh yeah, you're a better goalkeeper. I show speed would have 99 pace and 10 passing on FIFA Ultimate Team. Yeah, and like 3 shooting. Like his shooting was abysmal. I've never seen somebody more uncoordinated than that in my life.
I mean, it's penalty.
Did he finally score?
Yeah, he's only been playing football for like a year though. Like if I start playing rugby,
it's crazy.
Yeah, but Henry, I'm sure within a year of playing rugby, you'd know how to throw the ball.
Yeah, you're probably right there.
No, it's crazy.
I wouldn't be able to tackle anyone though, because I'd get flattened.
Nah, it's different there, Tom.
Like,
Tom, it's different, bro.
Americans have never kicked. Like the idea, you don't get it. Americans don't play a sport.
Yeah, bro. They believe that was a coach's son there, bro. It was a bit mad over there.
Yeah, but I like it when I like it when I see top level sportsmen and women, and then they go to do a different sport and they look like not just look amateur. Like, have you guys ever seen Conor McGregor throw a ball? And I don't know why, right? Because he punches. I always thought like I always thought because he can punch, he might be able to throw, right? Because there's a similar. I need to find this now, right? I don't know if I get
him playing football's worse, Terry.
Oh no, I've seen it. No, I don't know if it is, right? I got to square this on the screen, right? I got to share this on the screen. I've never seen, and maybe it's because he's a UFC fighter and he's tough and everything else as well, right? But this is him. Watch him throw a ball. What's this? Don't pull. Come on. Oh, why is it? Good server's so slow today. Here we go. Right, here we go. Oh, why is it doing this to me? That's how you know how bad it is. The camera's. Let me go back. Why is it not playing fully? All right, hopefully it'll work this time. Oh, this is whack. Why is it doing this? What is wrong with all the servers today? I don't know why it's doing this. I am gonna go and find. I'm gonna down. Honestly, today, Google servers and X. I don't know if you guys have seen it on X. It's been awful today. Like nothing's playing properly. I keep thinking it's my computer, but I'm gonna play it in a second. But honestly, it is awful.
That's why you don't sack the body language consultant. This is what they fix.
I'm generally still thinking about which manager do we think agreed to bring him in, because they were clearly brought in to do body language for the squad. I was thinking exactly.
I was thinking
it wouldn't be a Mourinho thing. It wouldn't be a Jose thing. Would it be an Ollie thing?
No, Jose might bring him in, but he'd only give him a 2-year contract. They wouldn't still be there.
Yeah, fair.
They would have cut.
It was a Ragnick thing. It was a Ragnick thing, I reckon.
Yeah, I wonder, right, if there are people at Man United, I wouldn't be surprised, who are there, but it's like they were hired a year ago, 2 years ago. They're only meant to be there for a month or two, but they just continue to get paid.
Yeah.
I bet there's all sorts of madnesses like that that have gone on at the football club.
Just keep it on the payroll, man. Just keep it on the payroll.
Exactly. After I play this Conor McGregor clip, I want to speak about Man City, but I want you to think about this question ahead of time. Is it time maybe for him to change his system up completely? Or could it even be time for him to go? I want you guys to think about that. But take a look here at this clip.
Former UFC champion Conor McGregor has been taking a lot of L's recently and took another one today in Wrigleyville, throwing out the first pitch. It was not a good one. Actually, it was a really bad one. He fits right in with...
That is
Yeah, that's true.
for an athlete of his level. When I saw that throw, I know he's in a suit as well, but I was like, oh my god, my 4-year-old boy throws better, more accurate, more power. It was just woo, terrible. Pep Guardiola though, boys. Pep Guardiola, Man City, 200 million euros was spent in January. A lot of people expected a big reaction to that. They've won a few more games. They've not been as poor as that prior run. But still against Nottingham Forest this weekend, a couple of players played well, but they looked the second best team. They got outdone. It's their 9th defeat of the season. Should they be thinking about changing up how they play? Could Pep really and truly be coming to the end of his time? You know, all good things come to an end, as they say. Or is this just teething problems and they will be back to their very best next year? Because it was, again, not a very good showing with 200 million euros of additional talent now pumped into that team. It didn't look that much better than 3 or 4 months ago.
I think Pep is going to change his style of play. I think you saw it, you've seen it in moments. I think the Newcastle game was probably the most obvious one when he got to start Marmoush and Haaland together up top. Well, Marmoush off the left, should I say. And you saw that he basically just started using Haaland is more of a traditional target man, someone to play into and have a run off of rather than have him be the guy everyone's creating for. And it was a lot more not a lot more, but it was a lot. It was more direct. It was more, chaotic in nature in terms of an attack in that game. And I think that's the way Pep's going. I think he said in an interview not long ago now that football's going into a transitional game, and who can be the best in transitions and moments of that ilk. So I think he's going to try and get ahead of the curve and make sure that his team are incredibly strong in transitions. And that really is down to your midfield, which he hasn't been addressed and has to be in the summer. Your centre backs, which I think that Kusanov, I know he had an audible first 5 minutes against Chelsea, but since then he's been really good as a centre-back. And your attack, and if you've got Haaland, Marmoush and whoever off the right, whether you want to do Savio or Foden or whoever, you've got an incredibly strong transitional attack. I do think that's the way we're going to go. I don't think it's time for them to discuss moving him on. It's Pep Guardiola at the end of the day. I don't think there's a manager with more credit in the bank. And you can see this season that it is the team, it is the squad, that a lot of them players just... There's no gas left. When you go at the top level year after year after year, eventually you can't go back to the well. The well dries up. And for a lot of these players, your likes of your Bernardo Silvas, your Gundogan's, your Kevin De Bruyne's, the well is dried up. There's nothing left to give. So I think there'll be a lot of pressure on Pep. Should they get 3, 4, 5 signings in the summer, especially in the midfield, where it's like, right, you've got your new look squad, fix it. And if it doesn't go then I think the conversations will be different. But I do think you're going to see Pep move to more of a less control and more transitional-based football, because I think he thinks that's where the games are won nowadays, rather than positional domination of the pitch.
The question is, Kunle, if he does that, has Pep got that in the locker? Has Pep got the ability to change the system that's made him Pep Guardiola, and will it work?
You'd like to believe that he does because of how much of a football man he is, and to be honest, I think that the football needs him to get it right, because maybe he'll give the rest of the managers confidence that you don't have to be so systematic and robotic at like the football's been over the last few years. Even the mighty Pep's adapted his game, because football needs to go back to what we grew up on, man. I'm tired of all this system, this wingers that don't take people on 1v1 and all this stuff, and no special players and making a difference in the last 10 minutes of games and stuff. So I think football needs him to, and this is a big rude awakening for Pep this season. And the only thing I question is can he be bothered to do this thing at City anymore? I don't know, especially after the year he's had, how many losses he's had personally and in football. Is he bothered, or it's just like he's just here to be here right now? I guess I'm in Manchester. I don't know if he's that bothered anymore, because he doesn't seem it. I don't know if you guys agree. He doesn't seem that bothered.
If Pep does go, do you think he'll take some time out and then?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I can see him taking like 1 or 2 years out and then.
Yeah, man.
going to another league. Like, I think City are this season. Could be up to or this summer there could be something like 12 players leaving. Like both goalkeepers are linked to move away. You know, you've got John Stones, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, etc. It's a massive rebuild that was probably needed last summer, the summer before, to essentially change system, change the way they play, to go to more of a transition, go back to a press. I don't know if Pep has it in him to do, because that's a 2-3 year plan.
Wait, question. Does anyone think that this could be the start of a Pep decline? Like, you know how Mourinho did? Does anyone think that?
Maybe not decline. I just don't know if he's got.
No, I'm just asking. I don't think it. I'm asking.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And on Henry's point, maybe if next year he tries this transition into a slightly different style with a new group of players, and they're sitting 5th in the league again, maybe his appetite goes because he just thinks, I've won so much. And I understand it from someone that's been as successful as regularly as him. There is that, I've only got one more year left after this. The team's nowhere near ready. There could be an element where he goes, do you know what? I just need a break now. Very much Jurgen Klopp-esque. I need a break. I need a change for a little while before I go to another project. The only way I think...
What more can he do at City? What more
no, exactly. And maybe he just goes, yeah, do you know what? It's not working. Or maybe he looks at it and says, well, football has got to change, and I don't have the energy or the strength right now because of how exhausted I am. Because he will be. He works his bollocks off for the last 8-9 years. He steps back. In terms of it being his decline, look, I think he's one of the greatest managers to ever live. He's in that GOAT conversation already. He's a phenom. What did for Jose wasn't that tactics changed for me. What did for Jose is that the younger generation of player didn't like his man management and he didn't want to adapt to it. Pep is football is going to change again now. And this is why managers that lasted 40 years at the very, very top of the game are the greatest of all time. Because it isn't just the systems and the tactics. It's how you handle the personnel change. Human beings, young 18-year-old lads from 1970, 1980 were not the same as young lads in 2013. The same as the younger generation are going to be different. Will Pep be able to, you know, as this younger generation come in that are learning new ways of playing or maybe got a slightly different approach, can Pep also adapt? I don't see any reason why not, but maybe just if there's a 2 or 3 year period where the style has to be different, maybe he's not the guy to make that system work. Maybe that's not in his, what's the word they use for it? Something will. He's you'll know it, David. What do they call it? It's not in his. I need to know what that word is now. It's on the tip of my tongue and I can't say it. Wheelhouse. Is that the word? Or am I wrong?
Not in his wheelhouse, yeah.
No, his wheelhouse, right?
No,
yeah,
that's right. That is right.
Yeah, I thought I was a saying. Maybe it's not in his wheelhouse, but I don't know. I'm looking at that from both sides. Like I'm looking for a reason why it might not work. I think he'll be successful with it as long as he's got the appetite, because it could take 2 or 3 years to rebuild a squad. I don't see why not, personally, but it does mean going against these natural principles and instincts.
I do still maintain though that I don't think Pep is here for this cycle of City. I do think it's going to be a case of he comes in, he builds most of the next squad, and then goes and leaves it to a manager who is more specialised in that style of football. I think Pep is stubborn, but I think he acknowledges he's stubborn, and he knows he's not going to change, and he knows.
You think he chooses his successor?
I think that would be a very stupid thing for Man City to do, and Man City have been a very smart club for how they run things, so it would be very stupid to now just let Pep Guardiola choose the successor. That doesn't go well, especially because yeah, at the end of the day, though, I think Pep understands that the game is becoming less positional, a lot more transitional in nature. And I also think he knows that that's not how he likes to manage football, so he doesn't want to do it for long. He'll build the squad. He'll get the core principles in. Let's also bear in mind, whether we like it or not, Pep Guardiola is about the biggest pulling a player can have when it comes to a manager. Every player will probably want to play under Pep Guardiola, so City would be smart to have him be the manager and him be the face of it. And then just once the players are in the door and they've signed the 5-year contracts, go, yeah, Pep's gone, by the way. He's gone next year and bringing someone else in. But you're there now, so enjoy. So I do think that Pep is going to, at most 2 years, at most. and it'll be building the squad,
Yeah.
setting up a couple of key things, and then going. I don't think Pep's going to be here for the next 5-6 years to see through a second whole City era. I don't think that's in. I don't think he's got that in him.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean,
Yeah,
he's only signed a new 2-year deal. Yeah, sorry.
No, if you stay for another like 5-6 years, he's gonna have a whole new group of players, and like that's tough for a coach to like adjust to. I feel like if you've gone from having your like John Stone starts every week, Bernardo Silva's my guy, Kevin De Bruyne, I can trust Kevin De Bruyne. If none of those guys are there, it is a bit like, oh my
the
god,
modern day
what am I gonna
coach
do?
can't handle that. To be fair,
Yeah,
Modern
but
day.
I think we all go through this, whether it's a hobby or whether it's a professional situation. You know, sometimes you build something and you love it, and then it goes. Whether it goes because, you know, I remember building a really good team at a place of work once, and it was doing so well that all the top performers got promotions and got moved into new departments, and I was left there. They went, we needed to rebuild that team again. I went, it took me like different to build the football team. I was like, it took me months of recruitment and training, and now you want me to start again. And I remember I was about a month into like trying to do recruitment. I remember saying to my boss that I can't do this. I said, I'm not motivated to rebuild it. I've already built it once. It was hard work. It was almost like I didn't want to do it again. I didn't want to rebuild that team and do the same work. I found it a bit monotonous, if that made sense. So they moved me onto something new. And listen, I think what I did as a job was very different from being a football manager, but there must be similar emotions maybe where a manager, and I'm not talking Pep specifically, where they look at it and go, I spent 2 or 3 years building it up and it was exciting the first time round. We then made the team. We won this trophy in that league and we did this in Europe and we had these great nights. Half that squad's now gone. I like the new lads, but maybe they don't have the same connection. Maybe it's like, teaching these new guys what I want them to do. For some reason, I'm not motivated. I'm not enthused by doing that again. And if he does start thinking, because I think that's what Klopp was going through last year. I think Klopp, he said lost energy. I think a bit of it was just, I've got to tell the same people the same thing again. You know, and everybody's been, that's why I think teachers and university professors are such special people, because some of them spend 30 years teaching the same thing to a new group every year. You've got to have a special type of mentality to be able to do that, because I know curriculums change and there's new ideas, but by and large, how many times has an English teacher read of Mice and Men to a new group of children? Like fucking maybe hundreds of times. And I think that there's an element of, and that's what City have got to guard against here, that there doesn't become complacency, that he doesn't lose that hunger. Because if that happens, they won't win anything, or they won't win anything substantial, no matter how good those players are. There's a few comments that have come in here. First one says, Terry, been saying this since last year. The era of Bernardo Silva is over. The guy is contributing anything, isn't contributing anything positive to the team anymore. He should be coming off on the 60th minute. But that's just like, again, Bernardo Silva is one of those mistakes you guys made, because he's been nearly leaving for 3 years. So even if it isn't physically done, you'll probably find with Bernardo Silva, he's also over being a City player. I bet when he leaves and goes somewhere else, he looks brilliant again. And this is why City have been the best at this before, and I think they've become a little poor about it in the last few years. If somebody wants to leave, just let them go. Because as soon as people stay against their will, even if it's, all right, I'll do it for you for another season, there just becomes a tiredness to that kind of approach. I know what David is saying about the Sanchez attempts was mental, and Kepa also doing mental things against Spurs. I want to know what the goalkeeping academy at Chelsea is doing.
Not an awful lot by the looks of it.
Well, neither of those players are academy players. So,
well, yeah, the goalkeeping coaching would be a better.
Which is the worst look on your academy, bro.
All I'm saying,
your academy are worse than that. That's what it's saying, bro.
No. Kepa was an Abramovich ego signing, because he just lost Courtois to Real Madrid. He wanted to spend money, and he didn't spend it well. And then Sanchez, I still to this day don't know why we signed him,
because you brought the Brighton goalkeeping coach and he liked Robert Sanchez, so you got Robert Sanchez.
Yeah, but the Brighton goalkeeper coach dropped him for Jason Steele. I don't even know what he's doing now, Jason Steele.
He's the backup for Ruben. I mean, it also doesn't help that this, what's his name, the other one that you've got, he comes in, he gets his chance, and then he throws it in the net. So it's not like Robert Sanchez is necessarily sitting there going, I'm worried about my position.
No, when we had Jorgensen in goal, yeah, he made the mistake, but I was way less stressed. Like I wasn't worried that my keeper was going to punt it in my own net because it's coming. I can feel it.
I hear that. I do. Obviously, a really big night tomorrow night for Liverpool. You're clear at the top of the league. You've pulled away. There's no issues. But tomorrow night, you play PSG in the second.
You cut out.
How do you see the game going tomorrow night?
I think PSG will just play the same way they did. The PSG have absolutely zero reason to change their game plan or their mentality going into that game because they battered us for 45 minutes in the Parc des Princes and then were, still putting the pressure on us in the second half. So, yeah, no, because we adjusted in the second half. For the first 45, we couldn't handle them. In the second 45, we've done a better job of handling them. But I do think it swings in roundabouts in the sense of they play the same way. We did figure that we did get a grip of it in the second half in Paris, so we can take some of the key aspects from that and carry it over into the game tomorrow. The big thing is we don't need to lose. As long as we just don't lose, we're through. So it's a lot stronger of a situation to be in than needing to take it to PSG. I do think at Anfield, you're not going to see us play the same way we did in Paris. Trying to soak up as much pressure, rely solely on counter-attacks. You will see us try and get our foot on the ball a little bit more. Could swing both ways in terms of a advantage or disadvantage for us. I do think that being at Anfield and what that means for Liverpool, it'll only be an advantage in terms of the atmosphere. And look, I just think we need to go there. I do think we'll play the 4 midfield setup again of Szoboszlai, Jones, McAllister, Gravenberch. I do think that might be pulled out again just because it means we can match up better with when Hakimi runs inside because we couldn't really handle that until the second half. So if we play the 4 midfielders, one of them can drop in and cover Hakimi. And I think ultimately it's going to be a really, really big night for Salah and Nunes because I think they're going to be the outlets for us. Like I said, I don't think we'll be absorbing as much pressure, but there will still be parts of that game because we have the 1-0 lead where we do just back the defence and do invite a little bit of pressure to try and hit them on the break because they need that goal now. They really need that goal. They're going to be pushing players forward. There will be spacing behind. Can we rely on Nunes to hold up the ball and bring Salah into play? I think that's the way you're going to look at it. And can our midfielders, where they went wrong in the first leg, which was panicked, get overawed by the PSG press, can they bypass that press a couple of times and give us moments in transition? That's what it comes down to. I think we'll get the job done. I don't think it's going to be a case of, or I hope from my heart, it's not going to be a case of it devolves into a shootout where both teams are just scoring at will and it's whichever one just scores more. I'm hoping we can keep it tight at the back and frustrate them and lead them into making mistakes and hit them on the break and then start to control the game from there. But we have the advantage of being 1-0 up, which we shouldn't have, but we do. It's about how Arne Slot uses that. This is where, he's been really impressive this year, Arne Slot, in pretty much every aspect of management. This is a real test tomorrow. How you're at Anfield, you're at home, 1-0 up against possibly the most informed team in the world. How are you going to play it?
What midfield three do you think he'll go with?
I think he's going to go for the 4. I think he's going to play all 4 of them together in the box, like we do
in a diamond sort of thing.
Yeah, in a diamond or in the box with both Jones and Szoboszlai like your front 2, and then I think he's going to do Nunes off of the left type thing, just because he's the only one that can, as we saw in Paris, he's the only one that can go up against the centre backs if we need to send it long and make it stick up there, which I think we're going to need to do at points in that game. So if he goes for the 3, it'll probably be McAllister, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai. I think he'll put Jones on the bench again. But I do think Jones will be very unlucky to miss out on a start because I thought he was very important when he came on because he's actually very good at retaining the ball.
I think he's the best midfielder you've got in the final third at slowing things down and waiting for others to
Mm-hmm.
be in play. Like,
I think it comes down to what we're going to need, because we needed that against Paris, or in Paris, shall I say, because we were too hectic and we were giving up too many chances back to them. Whereas at Anfield, I think we almost need to bounce off the crowd this time, keep them energetic, keep them going, and that at Anfield involves a lot of turnovers and a lot of high octane
do you
football.
feel like there's almost an expectation you're going to win because it's at Anfield?
There is. At least an expectation that we go through. At least an expectation.
Of course, there is an expectation. The question is this: can Liverpool stop PSG creating that abundance of chances again? Because I think for me, even as great as Alisson was, it was one of the most spectacular goalkeeping performances we've ever seen in Europe. So again, based on the probability, is he going to do that 2 games running in the Champions League? So, like, how do Liverpool can they stop that? Because I don't see why they can't create those. Because a lot of those chances came from PSG players skinning Liverpool players and creating opportunities for themselves. Will they stop that this week? Will the Paris players be a little bit more intimidated and not as good because of the noise of Anfield?
Yeah, do you know what? I think PSG really messed up by not getting it done in Paris. I think that's where they really, mentality-wise, that messed them up, because the Liverpool players are like, they gave us their best shot. We left with something. We left with 3 points. Now they're coming back to our house with our fans. I don't see them having that same amount of joy that they had last week at Anfield. I think the pressure of the occasion and the stadium and being 1-0 down is going to be too much for them predominantly. And Liverpool are going to pick them off. I think at best it ends 1-1, and that's from Liverpool winning, like leading 1-0, and then maybe PSG having a little bit of a run towards the last 10 minutes. I think at best, but I think Liverpool comfortably get through this test tomorrow, man. Like, PSG really messed up by not getting more goals in Paris. They messed up. Regardless of Alisson's form, I still think they should have scored a couple goals, mate.
I don't think it's over. Not even close. I think, again, there are players on that PSG team that know that they can beat their opposite man, and quite comfortably. That's got to fill you with a bit of confidence, whether it's at Anfield or not. Kvaratskhelia knows if he's playing and Trent's opposite him, Trent's the one worried, not the other way around. And all it takes is for them to score first, and it's 0-0 again, and then it is a shootout, because Liverpool then can't sit in and wait. I feel like if it's 0-0 and then we get later on and then Liverpool start sitting in, then it's a bit more of an interesting game. But if PSG get an early goal, it changes the whole complexion of the game, and then it's going to be interesting. But I think Liverpool will just edge it because they're the home team. But I would love a PSG win. I would love that. I would.
At least an early PSG goal, so we can have a really fun game.
Yeah. I think from a neutral perspective, PSG scoring first and early just changes everything. It means Liverpool have got to score to go through. No one wants to go to penalties, which means they attack a little bit more. Also, I think, listen, if PSG start well and they can silence Anfield, that's always one of the best remedies to beating or getting something from that game. Man United, when we went there a few weeks ago, yes, we drew 2-2, by the way, not as good as PSG. What we did in the opening 10 minutes, we silenced Anfield. Anfield was like a funeral for large parts of that game. Interestingly, scoring the goal kind of lifted, when we scored, it lifted them up a little bit. But that's why PSG, I think, if they can score early and then try and control some of the early stages of the game like they did in Paris, that could really help them. But I agree, David. I'm going with Liverpool to qualify, but I don't think this game is done, dusted, finished, over. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion as many people are making out. PSG have proven, I think, in the last 5 months, they've grown. They've become a really serious team. And I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be an amazing, amazing night of football. I really do think it's going to be brilliant. I hope Paris Saint-Germain do it, because then it ends the treble's over. It'd be great for the mini treble to be over as well. It'd be lovely for the mini treble to not be to be over as well, just to stop that conversation altogether. So yeah, come on, we're all tomorrow. I feel Parisian. Is how I feel. I feel Parisian tomorrow.
I don't think
Henry, by the way, that's where they actually speak French, not in Nigeria. as a common tongue. I'm assuming some people speak French in Nigeria, but it's not. Is French a language in Nigeria? I don't think it is. Is it? No, I didn't think so. You know, when
Not
you say
really.
something,
I know people that speak it. I know
Yeah,
people
yeah,
that speak it in Nigeria,
but you know, sometimes you say something and you know you're right, and then you go, "Shit, have I just made an absolute massive mistake?"
No, you're spot on there, Terry.
I didn't think that. Yeah, about to say I've got a lot of Nigerian friends, and none of them have ever said anything French to me. Do you know what I'm saying? But
Senegal,
yeah, more that part of the world. But yeah,
a certain country didn't come to Nigeria, so we don't speak French.
Yeah, I'm not speaking about that stuff. I'm not speaking about that personally, but there we go. They had Mark Kleinberg. You mean Mark Clattenburg as the ref too? Do you guys watch the Gladiator? Do you watch Gladiator on BBC One? Have you watched?
Yeah, I've seen.
Clattenburg is because obviously I don't remember I named the ref when I was a kid on that show, but it's mad that show because I loved it as a kid, and there's some good bits in it now. But you realize how like kind of false the whole thing is really, and like pantomime. But yeah, great show. Yeah. Is Kane the most under pressure in the Champions League?
No.
There's going to be a lot of people Mbappe's got the most pressure on him because Real Madrid won it without him, and now he's gone there. If they don't win it, the fingers will be pointed at him. Harry Kane's getting over his hoodoo of a trophy with the Bundesliga anyway. That pressure's off his shoulders for now.
But I'd love Kane to do it just to prove my point. I mean, what he did the other night against Leverkusen, that's how you become a top 10 legend of the game. Is those moments in big games, Henry. Does it make my point make sense now?
No, yeah, 100%. What I'd say about Kane is if he wins when he wins the Bundesliga, which is very likely at the moment, the narrative's going to be it's just the Bundesliga. If what you're saying, Terry, and he carries on into the quarters, into the semis, and scores a couple in the final, like you said, that's what you'll look back on and go, right, that's why Harry Kane was world class.
It is that, but for me, I mean, I won't do the whole kicking the can down the street. Oh, it's just the German league because last year they didn't win it. But in recent weeks, in games where Bayer Leverkusen have failed to win, Harry Kane has been a key instrumental player, scoring goals, creating and performing. That's enabled them to win and create this distance and this space. That's how legends are made. That's how you forge a legend in the game of football. It's those moments for me. And some players don't get it because they're not good enough to. Others make bad decisions in terms of where they go to play their football. I look at Bruno Fernandes. I know he's won some trophies at Man United, but I look at all the winners, all the goals he's created. He turned down some really top teams that have been winning league titles since then. Now, maybe he goes there and they don't win league titles. But if he gets to the end of his career and he ain't won a league title, never won a Champions League, him joining Man United from a legend perspective was a mistake. And I'll hold that energy because he, like you saw how well he did yesterday, you know, how well he did. He's done European games for us. He's been a very consistent player. He used to get labeled as someone who doesn't score in the big games. He gets a goal or assist in 50% of the games against the fellow top six in the Premier League. 50%. The only player with a higher percentage from midfield in the last decade has been KDB, and it's a 52%. To put that in comparative, by the way, I did the stats earlier to Odegaard. Odegaard comes in at about 22%. Just for goals or assists in those games. And yeah, that's how you forge a legend. But yeah, I don't think he's under the most amount of pressure in the attacking the least amount of pressure this round now is your boys Arsenal. At least you is it nice going into the second leg, Kunle, like with zero fear, zero worries?
Yeah, man, I'm just enjoying myself, man. I'm enjoying to be part of the party. They invited me to the party, and I'm just enjoying being here, listening to the tunes, man. I think DJ's come with some old school as well. So yeah, I'm just gonna enjoy being here for a bit, man.
Once the party's over, the party's over. Early goal, though, what happens to the party if PFU get that early goal that we're thinking about, and all of a sudden they only need 5?
Nah, we'll be fine. Nah, to be honest, like I just want to see a bunch of kids in that second leg. To be fair, like that's what I want. Because I don't see a scenario. I don't see a scenario where they score like 7 goals or anything. But they did play pretty well. I think they won on the weekend as well. But I'm not worried.
Predicting a 6-0. A 6-0.
Maybe Sterling might get a little bit of football. Maybe.
Joshua Jack here says it won't be compared to Scotty winning Serie A. But listen, McTominay's he's had a really good
Hey.
season. They're actually second at the minute, I think. But yeah, look, if he plays well for the next 10 games and they do go on to win it, I mean, he's not going to become a legend of Serie A through one season. But if he has 2 or 3 seasons like that again, but he's been an integral part in a team being in a title race. And he's done very, very well as our Scotty. So yeah, very, very proud of him. I know that the Champions League game is a bit of a dead rubber for you guys this week, but in terms of Arsenal stepping up, in terms of Arsenal going to that next level, is this the right approach, in your opinion, from Mikel Arteta? Let's take a look.
Do you excuse the players a little bit at least when you look at the concentration of injuries you've got in that forward line? Obviously Martinelli comes on, but no Saka, no Havertz, no Jesus.
I mean, I will defend my players all the time because the will to do what they want is no question about that. But in those moments, we have to be better as a team. That's it.
And do you regret not signing a striker in January? Perhaps that extra player? No, it's not about that?
No, it's not about that.
Okay, Mikel, one more.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about the title race because it's 15 points now. Is it too much? Right.
Is this the right approach from him, kind of protecting the team? I've seen him answer those questions before. Is he right to walk away in those scenarios because I've answered those questions, or is the pressure getting to him a little bit? What we say is just the right way for him to go about these interviews and handling the pressure of these title races?
Terry, I'm not gonna lie. The last few press conferences of Arteta's, they're the things that have started to worry me. Some of the things that he's been saying, how he's been reacting, it's starting to make me think that, like, what's his name? Pep's rattled him. He's messed him up. These 2 seasons battling with Pep has messed him up. And he's so paranoid. He's overthinking everything. And it's to the point where he's losing his mind. Like, I don't even recognize this guy. Arteta used to pull up into press conferences with such swagger. He used to answer questions without answering questions. I'm like, what did he just say? But it sounded nice. I don't know what he said, though. But now it's just every little thing that he does is getting scrutinized. And he's not making it easy for himself with the way he's reacting to things. I don't really like this whole managers overly protecting the players thing. But I also understand this is not the era that I grew up with as well, where players are a little bit more sensitive. I don't know if there's many managers out there now that actually do call out their players properly. I don't, if there is, let me know. But yeah, I don't know. He's not looked good in these last few press conferences for me, and I'm worried. But we're not going to talk about his.
Is Mikel cracking up? Should we get the sign?
I think so.
I think Mikel's cracking up.
I personally think so, bro. He's making a lot of weird decisions now. So
what's funny is I've heard of managers cracking up when they're like 2 points ahead, but the opponents have 2 games in hand. Not when you're 15 points behind. The cracking up stuff happened long before now.
I think the cracking up started like some weeks ago. To be honest, this is just the aftermath of it.
Well, when he started saying he's not going to give up on this title race over his dead body. Was that when he started looking at going? Oh,
I think even before that,
this is what
he's been cracking up for a bit.
I think
it's just like it's reached boiling point where
I really think teams reflect what their managers like saying and like how they act and stuff. And you can see it when you scored that goal to make it 1-1 against United. You were like, Declan Rice realistically should have ran in, grabbed the ball and said, we're going to score another. Instead, he's celebrating. I feel like your team and Arteta is under so much pressure right now that any slight bit of good they do, it's like a release. Like, it's like, oh my God, we've done it. Like no matter what's going on in a situation, they're just like, oh, we've done it. And then, but they don't have the almost like cerebral thing where it's like, oh, it's just business today. Do you know what I mean? The United game should have just been business. The PSV game, to be fair, they showed business, and then it was, oh, I've got something ready for the next game. Don't worry. And then they're back, and it doesn't show like that. I just feel like right now the whole squad is just the fans have got on their back, the rivals have got on their back, and it's just crumbled like ever so slightly. And yeah, the injuries have played a part, but it's like every excuse that they could have been given, they've like bit on it, and then when they've bitten on it, it's just gone back.
You're like, I agree with 50% of what you're saying in terms of like the players are definitely a reflection of the manager right now. You can see how they're struggling to make decisions on the pitch. They're overthinking everything. Nothing's quick. When you're through on goal, I don't think there's been a time in the last 4 or 5 weeks where an Arsenal player's been through and goal, where I'm like, yeah, confident he's going to take the chance. And these are players that were taking chances for fun last season. So, yeah, definitely the players are a reflection of the manager right now, I think.
Is it reminiscent